What is motivating every act I perform in the day? What's driving every action? On the microscopic level, it would appear that every task simply has an objective, an outcome. But when I zoom out, I see there's an overarching objective of every task I perform. Happiness. The human spirit, every human being, seeks happiness. It might appear we have different pathways, but we share the subjective peace and happiness. That is the point of everything I do. From the moment I open my eyes till the end of the day. The question is, am I aligned with the path, the method that actually leads to peace and happiness? Not something temporary, the real thing that's stable and powerful, not fragile, vulnerable, but deep inner peace and happiness. Am I aligned with the true path? What is the method? If I am honest, it's not something outside. It's not the right context or environment or scene, situation, or person, not even the right resources. That's what the fragile, temporary happiness is based on, but real, deep, unshakable happiness that I can relax into, knowing it is never threatened. That relies on something inside, not going out into the expansion, but coming inside to the point from which true happiness originates is inside. It's coming to the point of the cell. Even my sense of self has become expansive, fragile, temporal. Coming to what is timeless about myself. Beyond the image, the roles, responsibilities, relationships, and possessions. Under all the layers, there's that timeless point of self. This is where The path to true happiness begins at the point of the cell. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti, good evening. Welcome to Interview with the Raj Yogi. Tonight's session is aligning with the point. So, listening to the commentary, I was reflecting on this aspect that we all have that common thread of looking for happiness. And the commentary was shared that is my means, or the method used is at creating sustainable experience. So I was reflecting in terms of that, everything that we do, Raj Yoga, there's a very specific objective, and just like board games and jobs, attaining an occupation, there's a how. So I was wondering in terms of spirituality, it's quite, some can find it very abstract in terms of what's something that's so invisible. And I guess I was wondering, just being able to be clear of the purpose and the how. Do you find that because we have our own sort of journey, we might be following our methods and our experiences from the past, that we might not be aligning with the how in any given situation, like Raja Yoga?
Not sure if I quite understood the question. It's about knowing if I have the right how, or what is the objective, or
It's okay, there's a how, but we have our own ways of trying to figure things out. And if maybe we're not using the instructions that are laid out, we're using sort of our own ways and means that we kind of sometimes use in life.
Om Shanti. If I was to think of a physical parallel, so when it comes to the physical, we're talking about the body being happy. And when it comes to the spiritual, we're talking about the self being happy. So to just keep that in mind, that this isn't about the body, it's just to draw a parallel. Um, so when the body is not happy physically, it usually means that there's some misalignment, some imbalance, something, the architecture of the body is not being honored. And I always find it fascinating to watch a practitioner who's experienced to be able to find out, not be distracted by the symptoms, which is probably the first thing souls will go to physically, but to understand what the underlying issue is, because there aren't different architectures of the body. Yes, there's injuries and genetics and all sorts of things, but the basic concept is the same for every body. And so they have an understanding of the body, and they can see beneath the superficial to the deep what the issue is, which is already incredible. So they understand the objective is to address that issue. But then they come up with these incredible ways of getting, sort of activating, realigning this deep problem. And it may, the person who's getting the care may be given an exercise and they don't even know it has to do with anything, but it really is getting to this subtle, deep, underlying lying issue. So they might come in with some back pain. And so the practitioner watches, maybe sees an imbalance, maybe tight hamstrings. So they give them this, they give them something that doesn't seem to have much to do with the back. And they're going, but my pain is in the back, and then they want to address the symptom. And they're saying, yeah, but here's the underlying issue. So that's the kind of fascinating, and that requires someone with the eye to not be deceived, to be able to see what's invisible in the body. So, spiritually speaking, the same would apply is that I don't want to look at the symptoms, and that's often what we try to address, which is why we see this variety. But to look at the underlying issue, we're very similar under the skin when you look spiritually. So to go beyond the superficial, to look deep and see what is the origin of the pain and the soul. And actually, it's a conscience that's biting, really. It's a question of character. And so to kind of get to that point, and so that's where I'm going to focus the attention, right? A spiritual authority would have focused their attention there. And you're saying, oh, but I got to pay bills. And you're not understanding that I'm in stress because I have so much work I have to do. And it's like, no, no, no. Those are just the symptoms. What's the underlying issue? Our propensity to attach to things that, we feel give us a sense of value, but really the only way we have a sense of value is when we express our values, right? Our character. It's always coming back to that. So to see deep, and then I know what to do. And it's really the same for all of us as spiritual beings.
So to see deep, or is it an art to see deeper? Is it more practice? Because many were like, oh, that sounds appealing. I want to see deeper. How can I improve that capacity?
One of the examples we like to use is, the surface of a pond or a river. And we want to be able to see to the depths, what's deep. But if there's a lot of churning and activity, then I can't. That's the bottom line. I can't. But if I become quiet, if the surface becomes quiet and still, it's crystal clear. So this is the art of learning true silence or stillness or quiet. It's very refreshing because it's so nice to become clean with the self. But that requires being very quiet and still. And a huge part of that quietness and stillness actually is really self-respect. Again, it's the conscience that's creating a lot of upheaval. We call it a burden on the head, but it's creating a lot of agitation inside and self-deception. So when I feel, really a deep understanding about the self, it's amazing how understanding can quiet things down. Then this helps a lot, but there has to be quietness to be able to see deep.
I feel that's a whole new topic in itself. And I could feel that we could go on a tangent, but
And we never do that.
oh, we never go on tangents, of course not. But perhaps maybe just in fairness to the audience, if you can clarify, you hear stillness, you hear silence. You mean I have to clear my mind, have nothingness? You say no churning, like it has to be still. Then there's clarity. What to do?
Yeah, if I was to say clearing a body of water, I'm not emptying it. It's not the parting of the Red Sea. What I'm doing, what the reason we say understanding can create quiet, is it sort of clears away the thoughts that are unnecessary, that are waste, that are distracting. So I know this topic is point, so now I can see to the point. So it's not checking out, it's actually being able to check in or connect to what really matters and not have all this distraction going on around it. So this is why it's so refreshing this coming clean. It's like, okay, I'm not going to deceive myself anymore, be distracted anymore. So being able to see very clearly. So it's not empty, it's actually just in focus, if you will.
So, in this study, we do invite souls to consider that because we are eternal, we have taken many births. And so we have past experiences and also past ways in how we attain happiness, too. So, when you were sharing about, if it's cloudy inside, there's churning, it's noisy, not being able to see the point. Is it then because of these past births that maybe I kind of forget when I'm studying Raj Yoga what's actually creating, what is really the seed of happiness that I'm, as you mentioned, about understanding more of the self in a deeper way, that I become sensitive to be able to really be clear of the how, of the means to be able to reach the kind of happiness you're talking about?
I don't know if this idea of understanding again might be useful. So it's okay. And I will acknowledge that you use the word audience. I don't know if that's right, but listeners maybe. Um, don't necessarily, we always assume that everyone's online and soul rebirth. And I know that that's not always, I acknowledge that. But what we're trying to say is that the more full understanding I have, if you believe in rebirth, yes, or even this birth, the more full. So I want to know kind of the story, the arc of the story. That's going to help me to not be fooled around by the past births, or I can put them into a context. Again, the other day I was reminded of a movie from a while ago that I found very interesting around this idea called The Red Violin, in which the main actor is actually the paint on this violin, this red paint, is the narrator in the first person. And all you have is these strange, disconnected vignettes. The only common thread is the violin. And it's a bit like the story of the soul, right? Going through these seemingly disconnected and these quite profound, it's always in the hand of a virtuoso violin player, but crazy stuff, crazy different scenes that this violin goes through, different scenes. And what does it all add up to? What is the point? And it's actually, once you see the whole arc, the beginning, middle, and end, it's a perfect story. But if you see any out of context, you're like, what's the point of that? So I need to kind of have this arc. And the arc is basically saying that originally every single human soul is very elevated and starts at the highest potential. And then we travel through time, experiencing all these other, if you will, uh, aspects of the self, of the human experience. And that changes me over time, and I move away from that highest potential. So, sort of almost devolving, if you will. There comes a point where I'm very hungry to return to that highest potential. So I have it all, I lose it all, and then the heroic part of my story, I get it all back. That's kind of what I need to understand now. I know that the losing it all part had an impression, an impact on me. I need to know that's going to happen, but I also need to know that's not my original state. So I need the whole story, and that's going to help me to stay clear.
So, I mean, I could even have tendencies of sort of not following or being aligned, I suppose you can say. You have a certain set of instructions, whatever it is, swimming and so forth, that having an overarching understanding, I might have a tendency, a habit, and to be able to navigate things inside so that I'm not forcing things and perhaps really sustainably letting go of old habits so we can actually get back to the point?
Yeah, I won't become anxious or concerned or disheartened when I see that these acquired things along the way keep coming up. And that kind of response actually um, diminishes the impact of the habits. It's when I engage and react to these things in myself that I actually give them more power. It's a very non-violent way of changing the self. I'm very aware that these habits I've accumulated along the way, acquired, are going to um, distract, if you will. I know that's going to happen. By knowing that, I am not going to be distracted. I know that sounds counterintuitive. It's nothing's going to surprise me. So I need to keep that full picture in my mind and know I know what my original state is. So we call this full faith in the self. I know what my original state is. All this other stuff happened, but I know this is the original state. I know I am capable of this type of stage.
When we use fitness as an example, a group fitness class, let's use the dance class you are instructing. Because I've actually been in there before. It can be, if one allows themselves, they can be distracted by the other participants in the room. You see the instructor, and the idea is that you follow them, but then everyone's doing their own thing. And spiritually speaking, you're trying to follow the instructions to attain this happiness. And we look at the indicators. If I am on a personal level, I'm not sure if you can share on your practical experience, that to be able to have that level of understanding, there's a variety around us, a variety of capabilities too. Everyone has their own handicaps, their own stories. Do you find, when you understood yourself more, that overarching story and seeing tendencies you have, buttons being pushed, that it allowed you to be able to be much more understanding with others as well?
Yeah, I mean, it's just coming back to this basic principle. I can only give what I have. So if I have uh, a very appreciative attitude towards myself and my uniqueness, then I'll be able to give that to others. If I don't, if I'm always comparing, competing, and kind of missing my own point or journey, then I'm going to be extremely intolerant and judgmental of others. So it's really, I appreciate in a dance class. I mean, I think it's becoming, quite frankly, it's a leadership thing. The dance master sets the tone or the culture of the class. But I love it when I see, say, a ballet class, which can be very competitive. But I love it when I see them supporting each other, knowing the speciality of each other, helping each other out. I think that creates such a healthy environment where collectively and individually souls can go. And that's part of the conscience, is that we are not meant to be judgmental or critical beings. We're kind of missing the point if we think that is the basis of progress, getting ahead, at the expense of someone else, comparing and competing. I'm totally missing the point. That will not get me any closer to happiness. That will actually, I'll be moving further from happiness.
Time just flies, doesn't it? We haven't had a part two in a long time. Perhaps we will have part two, I have some burning questions, but burning questions.
Will you still be here next week? Is it burning? Cinder.
No. Yeah, many questions just to go deeper in this topic, but perhaps maybe I'll leave it as a cliffhanger. So have a little reflection.
The topic for this session was aligning with the point. I don't know if we aligned with the point, but maybe we can now. Sitting quietly, turning inwards. I'm aware that so often there can be so many thoughts and ideas and even concerns swirling around in my head. Almost feels like a cyclone or a tornado. But at the center of all of that is a point of peace, of calm, like the eye of a storm, a place where I don't think about worldly things or different scenes from the past or the future. There's no worries about roles or responsibilities or tasks. There's not even any pressure of time. Quiet place at the center point of my inner world where I am completely free. No labels, no layers, no pressure. I just have a single experience of the self. That at the core, I am a being of peace, a soul. I travel through time, experience different things, but they're all temporary. What is timeless, what is constant at the core, what never goes away, might be dormant, might be hidden, but it's always there. I am a soul, a being of peace. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti. So, warm reminder, we have the Learn About Meditation session at the Academy. I believe that's taking place the last Saturday of May, so that is May 25th, and it's 12:15 to 1:30. There is also, I believe, a Raja Yoga session at the Inner Peace Center, but we have not updated our website yet. So, what is it? Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, wonderful. It is available. So, the next sessions that are happening, I believe, is in June. Yes, Raja Yoga Foundations in English. I thought it was something that was in May, but so those are 4 Wednesdays, but the first Wednesdays a month, if in case there's another fifth Wednesday. But we also have the Raja Yoga full courses happening in June as well, over 2 weekends in Hindi. And so please check out the website if you're interested in those. And of course, online sessions in Hindi and English, and other on-site sessions as well in English as well as in Hindi at the Inner Peace Center. So all of that is on the website, calgary.brahmakumaris.ca. And of course, you can just go to BK Calgary on YouTube as well to find many of these sessions. So thank you for joining with us tonight. We will have part 2 next week. Om Shanti.